Hello, everyone. I welcome to another series of Building Resiliency. In our session today, we will look at how we can be kind to be resilient. And we are learning this through the story of Amit. A quick recap of our previous two sessions where we understood the basics of resiliency. Along with that, we understood the main three core building blocks, basis on which we build or we become resilient. And I left Amit with some questions around that, which he was a bit curious because in his narratives, which he found through the wheel of life and understood the areas in his life where he lacked resiliency, there was another angle when he understood the three main components of how he can be a resilient Amit. And through those three components, when I asked him to ponder over, he was both surprised and also curious to learn how can he be a little bit more kind towards his own self. So in our session today, we will now get into the practice mode of it. And for this, I would want you to pause this video here, grab a pen and a paper, and work along with me and Amit and practice the very act of being kind towards oneself. Self compassion or being kind towards oneself is often an alien topic for most of us because some think, some people are of the view that, oh, is it that we are going to be a bit more selfish? Some think that just being concerned about oneself is not something to be widely practiced. But today I would like to tell you that being kind towards oneself has nothing to do with either being selfish, self absorbed, or self centered. Being kind towards ourselves is a practice and that you will learn, which basically help us build our resiliency muscle. Unless we are kind to ourselves, we can never be kind to the external world or to people around us. And to do so, we have to put certain tools and techniques into practice because for majority of us, we were never taught this very excellent practice of being kind towards oneself. So with the example of Amit, I asked Amit, and you can use the same technique as Amit did it along with me, to follow this tool, which is called, one second, being your best friend. Now, in this, first thing I asked Amit was to think about a recent situation, a challenge, or a difficult time, or a or some kind of a problem where Amit find himself extremely on a consistent basis being very stressed, and he seems to have not been able to find clarity, direction, and also get out of that problem. He has tried his own methods to cope, but again he finds that he's back into the same issue. So I asked him, think of that. First of all, which area you have that issue. You would know by the use of Wheel of Life, which we saw in the episode first. Using that same Wheel of Life, if you can write which area of your life you have that problem and at the same time give a detailed description of it. Once you've written your challenge, your problem on a paper, then I asked Amit to turn into his own best friend, to imagine that his best friend has come to him with that problem, which is now on the piece of paper, and his or it could be anybody, a boy or a girl, or a woman or a man, the best friend offers that paper to Amit and say, look, this is my problem, Amit, and This is what it is. And I find myself being caught up in this issue. Can you have any advice for me? Any sound counsel? So now I asked Amit to think and wear the cap of a best friend who would treat his friend with warmth and sympathy, and at the same time meditate on the problem that is in front of you and think of what could be a likely advice or a solution that one could offer as a best friend. When you do this activity, remember we have a lot of answers within ourselves. It's just a simple technique where we first step write the problem on a piece of paper and then wear a different hat. Look at the same issue with another angle of being a best friend. And sometimes when we do so, it may not necessarily be that you may immediately have a solution to the problem that is there on the paper. But then you as a best friend, what advice or counsel you have, which can also be in form of us holding space for your friend, or you could be just simply you want to hug your friend, or you want to tell your friend, I'm there for you. So I asked Amit to, use this gesture that you see on your screen right now, which was to hold oneself with kindness. And for this, you can even kind of keep your hand on the place of your heart and just use these words. The words that you would often use for a best friend who has come to you with a problem, where you may not have an immediate solution, but you would just say, it's okay, buddy. Don't worry. It's going to be all right. I'm there for you. You have my back. This method, this technique is where you are, in a way, rewiring your mind. You are wearing and tapping into your inner wisdom. You are being kind towards yourself. This is the most simple but rooted in science method to exercise self compassion. And when I asked Amit to do so, he was quite moved by this gesture. And I was not very surprised because I equally was when I was in Amit's space many years ago. And I just want you to pause the video here and perhaps spend some time with yourself as your own best friend. Give yourself that space, that permission to experience the kindness that you're offering your own self, and then see what comes up. Just be in that moment for some time and practice this technique anytime you feel extremely overwhelmed or stressed out. There was one more assignment that I gave Amit, which was, besides this, if you would like to write a letter to your own self as a best friend. So once you've written the problem you're suffering from, the challenge or the hardship that you're going through, this technique now invite you to write a letter. So let's say, just assume that your friend is not very aware of the current problem you're going through, and having seen the problem coming your way, like you go back and read that piece of paper where you have mentioned the issue, the challenge in complete detailed description. Having seen that, now you would write a letter. Here's again, the letter is to yourself, where you are holding a role of a best friend. What advice do you have for you? Have for your own self? who's struggling, who's going through a very tough time. You are playing the role of a best friend to your that inner self, which is in the subconscious mind struggling. So if you feel bringing things to your imagination is difficult, this method is very helpful for those. So just sit and write a letter. Express whatever you would want to express, because you as a best friend is well aware of the entire scenario. You've read the whole challenge in description, or if you have not fully understood, you could even ask questions in your letter and sit and write. So I asked Amit, why don't you just write a letter? As a best friend, offer guidance, offer counsel, offer some kind of instructions. Let's say, you know what, do this, or give me a call. What do you think? I have some suggestions here, and just pen them down. Friends, this might sound a little tricky when you are doing it for the first time, and also a bit little since you're new to this connecting with the self. You may find it not very convenient, because being with ourself and knowing it and then extending kindness is a deep work. But I would say that start with these simple techniques, which are quite impactful, and practice them. You may not get it the very first time, but learn to sit with your own inner self. You can write a letter, or you could just be there as your best friend and talk to yourself the way you would talk to your best friend, with kindness, with sympathy. Hold space and see what comes up. I keep repeating this. Observe what comes up. There are no right and wrong answers. It's all about you building your first step to knowing your inner self, which is the most powerful way to be kind towards yourself, cultivate self compassion, and that is the building block of being resilient. That's all for today. I'll meet you soon in our next episode.